which is, it's in our national interest and it's in our national security.
Absolutely not in our national interest.
It's in our
it's in China's national interest.
Don't shout over me. Don't shout over me. It's not a good look. It's in our national security.
You can't even answer the question about how much it's going to cost.
Are you talking over me again?
I'm asking you.
Are you talking over me again?
You asked
Are you?
Richard,
okay, can I speak?
Richard and Lucy, just
can I speak?
Cool it.
As you saw from the introduction, briefly, Lucy Powell, who's a Labour MP, absolutely loses her mind. Goes on a raging attack against Conservative MP Richard Holden, all in relation to the Chagos Islands. That's been a debate that's been heating up UK politics. And just a quick introduction before I play the full segment. Chagos Islands. What is the future for Chagos Islands? The sovereignty. Keir Starmer was talking about giving sovereignty to Mauritius. What's that going to entail? They have a military base, I believe, in Diego Garcia. What's that going to entail? It's going to cost a lot of money. Americans are not too keen on this happening. They're saying, hang on, we're never going to forget if you do this. In addition, skeptics are saying that you cannot just opt out and forfeit overseas territory. You should, hold on to Chagos Islands. Don't just give it up, So there's a lot of talks about Chagos Islands. But as of this debate, which you're going to see shortly, what it demonstrates is it shows the left not being able to handle discussions amicably. Just going on a rage. Using self-victimization tactics. Are you talking over me? Are you talking over me? It's a discussion. It's a debate. You have to come, present your ideas. He will present his ideas, Richard Holden, and then that's how it goes. It's not in an orderly fashion. Okay, after you is me. Sometimes you want to jump in when someone's saying something and you want to correct them, which you're going to see. She doesn't even know how much this is going to cost. She says, we have no figures. How can you have no figures? No estimates. So she has no figures, but yet she's talking. So she seems quite silly in this debate. He's at least being real with the situation and saying this is going to cost billions. And she's just like, that's nonsense, that's nonsense. So, we see it all the time, we see it even in America as well, when the left can't handle it, what happens? Cancel culture follows suit. I don't like what you're saying. I don't like that you're challenging me on points. And yeah, I don't even want to deal with you. Just get out of my face. And this is what we're seeing again here. She can't handle a discussion and she just goes on a run. It's just unnecessary. Just cool down. If you have something to say, then say it, make your point and, articulate your point in a way where people, would understand you and they'll be like, okay, cool, we understand that. But the left have no policies. So this is what they resort to time and time again. We even see it with Keir Starmer, when his PMQs, it's the same thing. I can even predict his next PMQs. £22 billion black hole, Conservative government were a failure, 14 years of Tory rule, it's the same thing. You're not getting anything different. So there is no policy and there is no common sense logic behind what most of Labour are doing. And it shows here, this is why she starts shouting and she loses her marbles. But anyway, guys, let's watch the clip and yeah.
You, Richard, that these negotiations were started under Liz Truss. Were they negotiations about the future sovereignty of the Chagos Islands? The biggest island is Diego Garcia, on which there is this UK-US base. They were started under a Conservative government.
That's absolutely the negotiation with Mauritius about the future.
Right.
However, it's very important at that point to then say that was under no point was any idea that Britain was going to give away over £18 billion.
Well, that's nonsense. Just before we jump to the figures that are involved,
they're nonsense. They're nonsense.
Well, what are they then?
They're nonsense.
What are they then?
They're nonsense, and they're nonsense.
Well, hang on.
You don't know, do you?
No, they're nonsense.
You don't know, do you?
They will become clear, but I know that they are nonsense.
Right, well, let's
okay? And so it's ridiculous.
Well, Richard
and so you want to get onto that whilst ducking the very important issue here, which is, it's in our national interest and it's in our national security.
Not in our national interest.
It's in our national.
It's in China's national interest.
Don't shout over me.
Don't
shout over me.
Just keep
not a good look. It's in our national security. Are you talking over me again?
I'm asking you.
Are you talking over me again?
You asked
me. Are you?
Richard,
okay, can I speak?
Richard and Lucy, just
can I speak?
Right, well, hang on, I will come back to you.
Speaking over me.
But Lucy, answer the question about the cost.
It is in our national security and in our national interest to get a long-term arrangement to keep that important military base in Chagos, which was under big question mark, which is why the previous government began these negotiations and continue to do them many times.
Yeah.
And we've come to the beginnings of an arrangement. It's not finalised. Those negotiations are still ongoing, and the full details of those, when they are agreed, and they are agreed by Cabinet, will become to Parliament.
Right.
And at that point, Richard can see that what he's saying is nonsense.
Well, hang on. What he's saying, you're referring
to
the amount of money that he's citing.
Yeah.
But in terms of the actual arrangement, Richard, surely what was being discussed when it first started under Liz Truss's government is the same as now, which is a lease on that base. In other words, that would have to be paid for.
Look, there's a totally different position to where Labour are now to where we were under the last government.
What is it?
Well, I'm going to be very clear about it. What we were doing at the time was talking to them about what might be the future. It's quite clear now what's come out very quickly from this government, trying to move at an immense pace, because this has happened, remember, this happened within a few months of Labour getting into office as well, was a deal around the future, some money, Lucy won't tell us.
I'll come to that, Lucy, with the money in a minute.
It's actually going to cost us. There's real issues now, which have developed over the last few years, around not just the Silk Road initiative from China, but the massive land grab across the Indian Ocean and the Far East. There are huge international implications around that. We don't know the opinions of the American administration, our closest ally, our other NATO allies. I mean, Lucy, do you know any of the opinions of the US government about this, or around? Can you tell us the money?
Do you know the negotiations that your government were doing? Were you privy to those?
I wasn't part of them.
No, you weren't.
No,
you weren't.
I wasn't part of them all.
No, you weren't.
But, I mean,
you weren't.
Let him finish.
Rather than talking over me, as you criticise me for, I'm losing a rag about this, Lucy, because you can't even tell. You accuse me of not being aware of what the situation, but your government's literally putting this forwards at the moment.
Well, let's just see if we can make a bit of progress in terms of the money. There is money involved, I presume, billions of pounds involved. I presume that is the subject of negotiation in order to keep some sort of control over the UK-US airbase. There is going to be money paid, and according to the Mauritian Prime Minister, it's going to have to be front-loaded. So are we talking in the realm of several billion pounds?
The figures that are being bandied about by Richard and others are nonsense. The full details have yet to be agreed. They've not been signed off. I've not seen. They've not been signed off by Cabinet or by anybody else. So these are still discussions. Obviously, what we are securing is a long-term arrangement for a long period of time for us to operate a very important military base. The question over it continuing to be there was a very serious question.
Can we
to be resolved, which is why the previous government they didn't just have some initial chats that was just like, oh, just scopy. They had 11 rounds of successive foreign secretaries, many of whom came in and thought, oh, why do we need to carry on doing this, and then carried on those.
All right, well, Richard, was there never ever
extensive conversations?
You say
he doesn't know.
No, you say you don't know the content of those conversations and negotiations for obvious reasons.
I claim that the current government minister sat next to me has no idea of anything and criticises it. We can't just finish and criticises the figures that I'm putting forwards, but herself has no idea. At the moment,
I do have an idea. I know they're nonsense.
Hang on.
I know they're nonsense, but I'm not claiming to know something I didn't know, and you're claiming to know something you didn't know. You said you had no detailed conversations.
Lucy, let him finish.
You didn't know.
You've literally agreed it'll be billions, but you now.
I haven't agreed it'd be billions. I haven't agreed anything. I said that figure was nonsense. That's all I said. That figure.
Well, let's just say 9 billion and 18
nonsense.
Let's see when it comes forward.
Yeah, 9 billion and 18 billion pounds is nonsense, says Lucy. Those are the two figures that have actually been talked
18
about.
billion, you just said to me. I said that figure is nonsense.
But 9 billion maybe not.
And that figure is nonsense. And what I'm saying is these details will come to. I'm not sitting here like negotiating a figure that is still in discussion and a part of a much bigger arrangement.
Well, let me ask Richard.
What I'm not pretending, which Richard is pretending, is that somehow under his government, and he doesn't actually know because he wasn't privy to this information when he was in government, the extent of the negotiations that went on under the previous government, because it's in our national interest to do so.
Well, of course, hang on.
And we will only sign a deal that is in our national interest that secures our long-term.
We have to obviously take your word of that because we don't see it.